He's blitzed, been busted, done some busting up. Now he's box office. Up next, the Boz answers the critics with the star of Stone Cold, Brian Bosworth, up close. Hollywood loves the anti-hero, whether it's James Dean or Steve McQueen or Clint Eastwood or Stallone or Schwarzenegger or any of the one men against the world figures. There's a fascination with the tough guy taking on the impossible odds. Perhaps now they have another one. When Brian Bosworth played football at the University of Oklahoma, he was one of the most incorrigible figures the college game had ever seen. Outrageous, outspoken, schizoid almost. His alter ego was a man named the Boz, a take-no-prisoners, win-at-all-costs massive sound and fury, a walking controversy, a deviant, an eccentric, a millionaire before he even played a down in the NFL. He was also out of pro football before he even made a dent in the game. But if there wasn't a place in football for the Boz, there certainly was a place in the public's imagination for him.
You just picked up the wrong passenger, buddy!
2 weeks ago, Brian Bosworth made his cinematic debut playing, not surprisingly, an undercover motorcycle cop trying to out-thug the thugs in the name of justice. The film, Stone Cold, has not been a universally acclaimed motion picture, but it's been very well received by the public, and it's gotten some surprisingly good notices. Another fantasy in the land of Boz, or is it the product of hard work from Brian Bosworth? Today, Brian Bosworth talks about the critics, the public, the press, and more with the newest Boz office attraction, Brian Bosworth, up close. And now joining us up close, Brian Bosworth, not the Boz. We're going to talk about that in just a few moments. More or less taking the Boz out of your life completely, out of his life professionally. Welcome, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Roy.
$4 million in 1 week. What does that say to you about the public and the Boz, or Brian Bosworth anyway?
It shows that they've basically gone into the theater with an open mind, looking to see what I've done in the last 2 years of my life. I think they realize that I came from some really hard times and have devoted my time and my life to a new profession and new career, and they're willing to give it a shot and see if it works, if it's good.
There have been skeptics, there have been cynics, and there have been people who have just been plain mean-spirited. Steve Kelly of the Seattle newspaper is one. You opened today's paper, and I know you did, and this is what you see. To call Stone Cold garbage is to give garbage a bad name. Do yourself a favor, don't buy Boz's baloney, don't go to this movie, don't fall for the Bosworth pitch. He, says Steve Kelly, he is as much a fraud on the big screen as he was on the gridiron. It is so bad Roseanne Barr should sing the national anthem before each show.
That last line was pretty good anyway.
Does that hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't really hurt. It hurts me that there's, people out there who have so much hate inside them.
Now, you've never met this man,
no,
even when you were playing up there.
No, I think he's a columnist. And I think he just likes to write an article every week about me. I guess I'm part of his life up there. And it's sad that he has so much hate inside himself that he has to use a forum, in the paper to write something like that. But, I thank God that our fate of our world is not in his hands sometimes. So.
He goes beyond reviewing the film and it gets personal. Don't see him, not the film, don't see him. Yeah. Howard Rosenberg, our media critic, Pulitzer Prize winner, talked about what it says, though, the perception, generally speaking, that Bosworth had a good time in college, he had a personality, he only played less than 3 seasons in the NFL and just had a foray right into the film business. What it really says, the big picture, in his mind, and what the public really thinks about all of this. This is what Howard Rosenberg had to say.
This is Hollywood. Everybody has a gig out here. I mean, what is it, forget about the Boz. What does it tell you when G. Gordon Liddy gets his own talk show? It tells you that the bottom line is money. Whoever can make you money will find work. And the Boz is no exception. I mean, you know, I haven't seen his movie, but I've seen his act for a lot of years. And this is a guy who's not only packaged by other people, he's packaged by himself.
Now, that suggests that you didn't pay any dues at all, and there are certain people who certainly say that's true. You did study acting for 6 years. You worked very hard.
4 years.
All right, 4 years.
Okay.
But still, the fact is that the effort was made, and it also suggests that people aren't allowed to move into other lines of work. I mean, once you're pegged as a football player, that's all you can do in your life.
Yeah, which I don't understand that concept. I can't fathom that concept at all. To me, everybody can do as much as they want to, whenever they want to in their life. Just prepare yourself to do that. In terms of paying your dues, sure. Maybe I haven't paid my dues, but I'm working. You don't become an All-American by one game. I didn't become an All-American by one game. I worked hard all through the University of Oklahoma to become an All-American. I'll work hard all through my career as an actor to become the best actor that I can be. It's not going to be, well, I'm going to put it up on the screen one time and that's enough for me, and I expect you to treat me, you know, like the biggest actor in Hollywood. No. Mm-hmm. And it's not about money. This guy thinks it's about money, and unfortunately, fortunately, I don't need the money. You know, it's not about the almighty dollar. It never has been about the almighty dollar. You know, to me, it's more about being able to be attainable to my generation and the generation that's behind me, and have something that my generation can attach an identity to.
By the way, not all reviews have been bad, and some have been pretty good. Sports Illustrated, for example, last week's issue talked about your performance in Stone Cold right off the bat. Bosworth, who retired from the NFL last year, has been taking acting lessons for 6 years. By all means, he should continue to take them. That said, Sports Illustrated wrote, it must be added that Bosworth is actually not bad. He's relaxed on camera, his timing is good, there's a nice understatement to his delivery. The Boz may not be ready for Shakespeare in the Park, but compared to, say, Steven Seagal, he comes off like Olivier. How good are you right now? How good did you think you were going to be at this point?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I was scared to death that first day. I didn't know what was going to happen that first day, because all of a sudden you're in Hollywood now.
And not a bit part of the lead.
Columbia put the whole picture on my shoulders, and that showed me that they cared enough about what I was doing inside, about the preparedness that I had done, and they could see the dedication that was important to me to pull the film off. It also shows me that that all the things that I've done in my past don't count against me in my future. The word forgiveness has always been, you know, it's there for me, and it should be there for everyone.
All right, let's take a look then at a scene from Stone Cold. This is a scene where you decided to deliver, I guess it was a present to the leader of the Brotherhood. Here it is, Stone Cold with the Boz.
What's that?
It's a little present. I think you're going to need this when we do business.
Hey, what is it? A letter bomb, man? Open that.
Bulletproof vest, man.
This is a government issue, man.
Yeah.
Where did you get it?
They don't play games with me, James. Half my stash is government issue. So's every pistol in this room, including that piece in your pants.
Joey boy, let's try this on. Turn around, let's see how it looks. Turn around. Jump down, turn around. I guess it worked.
Oh, James, my man. Don't ever play games with me, James. Your man! Your man! Ice White! This motherfucker deserves to die! He's mine!
What do you feel like when you see that?
Oh, I laugh, because I know Lance, and he's not like that. I just laugh when I see Lance.
But you must feel a lot of pride. I mean, seriously. I mean, even though people have taken rips at you, big ones too, you put yourself out on the line.
That's why I don't take it serious. It's like it's water on my back, because I know what we did, and I know the the product that we have. And nobody can come and stand in front of me and make me believe that what we put on there was fraud. And that's good work. And it may not be Laurence Olivier, but I never claimed to get on the soapbox and say that I was Laurence Olivier. I am no more and no less than I am into myself, and I'll work harder each film to get better. But again, nobody can say that I didn't dedicate my life to do a good piece of work.
And there's no question that as we speak right now, people are coming to see this film. Maybe it's just a curiosity factor right now, but people are coming, and a lot of them. $4 million in 1 week. We're going to come back more with the show Boz in just a few moments. We'll talk about the character, the personality, Brian Bosworth, and the Boz, and what his teammates and former coach had to say about him. It's up close after this.
There are two personalities, the Brian Bosworth and the Boz. Brian Bosworth was the great player, the leader, 3.5 student that graduated in 3.5 years, a team guy, but then all of a sudden he became the Boz. The media created these cameras, the microphone.
The steroids too?
Well, that enhanced his ability and talents. Of course, steroids do that.
It also ruined his career.
But probably did. Physically, probably ended. He was a great player when he did play. But he was two personalities, and I addressed that. And I thought I did it in the right way as the adult, and he's the child.
Barry Switzer on our show last October. Brian Bosworth, you were trying to watch that show in a bar when it actually took place. You couldn't hear because people were talking. Yeah. You want to respond to that first of all, and then we'll get into Switzer for a few moments? Were there really two people, and did the steroids affect your career adversely?
Well, I don't think the steroids affected my career adversely because the type of steroid that I took had nothing to do with physical attributes. It didn't enhance my play at all. They were used strictly for rehabilitation of my injuries. And they were prescribed by a doctor, so they had nothing to do with making me a better player. That only comes from your heart. But as far as the two personalities, the dual personalities, I agree with Barry in the fact that during that time of my life, I was going through an identity crisis, and there were so many things. I was 20 years old, and everybody was telling me I'm the greatest, you're the greatest this, you're the best thing since sliced bread. Peanut butter doesn't taste as good as you do. Here's a microphone, give me something I can put in my paper.
And you accommodated?
I didn't know. I really didn't know. And unfortunately, the only thing I wish Barry had done was maybe if he had taken me aside and told me, look, they're only using you, man. They're not trying to make you look good at all. They're building you up, and then one day they're going to crack you.
But you used them too, Boz.
I used them too, but not to make me a famous person. No, I was just having fun. When that first thing came out about the Texas Longhorns, I just answered the question honestly. You know, I'm a redneck from Oklahoma, and someone ask a redneck from Oklahoma how they feel about Fred Akers in Texas, that's an honest answer you're going to get. But I didn't think that it was going to be as sensationalized as it was and start the whole thing. But we had fun with it when we were players. All the players on the team were just laughing.
See, I'm going to take a stab at this. Here's what I think. I think you really feel great regret for having been the Boz. I think it cost you a lot. I think you feel that you hurt a lot of people, that maybe you hurt a relationship with your girlfriend who you've known since you're 13 years old, and that if there's one big longing, it was that you couldn't be Brian Bosworth as much as you would have liked to have been.
Oh, I wish that I could be Brian Bosworth more than I was. I just wanted to be the Boz on the field for the people in the stand, but I wanted them to let that character go. Once the game was over,
can't have it both ways, though. Yeah. That's what the problem was.
And it's frustrating. It really is frustrating because people don't want to attach an identity to somebody else. I mean, Barry said it best when I took my grade seriously and graduated in 3.5 years. That was serious to me. It wasn't playing a football for the rest of my life. I enjoyed playing it. I was passionate about the game. I was an extension of my childhood fantasy. But I just wanted to, you know, be me. I wanted to be Brian.
After a while, you said this to me earlier today, you lost a lot of your friends. You didn't have a single friend on the Seattle team. I want you to listen to Tony Casillas, former teammate of yours, talking about what the teammates at the time thought of Brian Bosworth and his antics and his showmanship. This is Casillas on our show last year.
I think he was probably a very selfish type of player. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'd get my name in the paper and he'd, you know, my senior year in college, you know, he'd make comments like, well, I can't even get my name in the newspaper because this Casillas kid's around.
That bother you?
No, it really didn't bother me considering who it was coming from. You know, all the things that he probably said, I think, were a bunch of fabricated lies, just enough to sell himself.
Well?
I don't understand that, but, you know, Tony was a great player. He helped me be a great player. And I've always said that even in the papers down there. I said I would never be the kind of linebacker I was if he wasn't as dominating a nose guard as he was. And, you know, I stick by that to this day.
Were you selfish, do you think?
I don't think I was selfish. You know, I didn't, and if I was selfish, that was only because of how naive I was in my situation. But as I grow, you know, you grow through life and you experience life and you learn through things.
See, people forget, though, I think, and we have some tape of you at Oklahoma, how good a football player you really were because of the Boz. It obscured the fact that you were a hell of a player on the field, a Butkus Award winner. People have forgotten that, Boz. Is that a regret for you?
They see the showmanship. They see all the, you know, that's just the guy that's just running. I'm just trying to get, I just want to destroy this guy. That's all I care about. I'm not playing to the crowd. I don't see anybody other than the guy that I'm fixing to hit. And all I wanted to do was help the Oklahoma Sooners win national championships. That was my only passion. And it was the media as much as it was me that exploited this character, and it was mostly my fault for allowing it to grow to the out of controlness that it did.
It eats at you that you had to leave. I know that you've talked about this, you know, and people don't want to believe, you know, that you cried real tears when you had to leave the game. You couldn't even bring yourself to tell your father, Foster, who was the driving force in your life, until the day you retired. People say, oh, come on, he's got the money. It's $11 million, it's guaranteed. Come on, let's not shed any tears for the Boz, because the Boz doesn't really feel. That's not true.
I wish sometimes I didn't feel, and I wouldn't go through the, you know, now and for the rest of my life the way I am. I'm going to, but you know, to me the most important thing was playing the game of football. From the day that my dad gave me my first helmet and first football when I was 5 years old, and the day he coached me until the day I had to stop playing the game, then that day it just hurt me, and I hurt every day, and not just physically but emotionally, because even today, if I could have one wish and I could ask the man upstairs for one thing, I would say, give me back my shoulder so I could back and play the game.
Brian Bosworth, our guest. There's a universal justice to this world. Brian Bosworth now has 2 twin nephews who are acting exactly the way Brian did when he was a kid, and they're sort of wreaking havoc in your own life, right?
Yeah, they are. They poisoned my dog last night. Now I've got to go home and make sure my
dog's okay now.
She's fine. Raiders should be okay. And they think that their uncle kills people for a living. It scares me, man.
What was it that your mother once said about you? That it's a good thing that Brian.
If I was the first, I'd have been the only.
Yeah.
Which I sympathize with my parents, because I know I put them through some serious times.
Yeah. One of the quotes that we had from you once upon a time is, "I hope I always do what bothers people."
That was, again, probably when I was 20 years old. And I just probably enjoyed doing things that grated on people, because they just get stuck in that rough rut of life, and they don't, if things don't go the same way all the time, and all of a sudden there's a door and they hit that door, it's like, oh man, I don't want to get involved with this.
Speaking of doors, did you actually put that nut in the assembly line at the?
You know, I never admitted to that. I just saw all these things happening.
See, Rick Riley made it look like you put a nut in a car, building the chassis of the car, so that there's a rattle in a car, so that.
You know, Rick's a sensationalized writer. I mean, he loves to write.
And had a best-selling book on the New York Times list. Okay, you and the Seahawks, you played very briefly, less than 3 seasons, but we have some video of you, and including the most famous of all plays, the Bo Jackson play. But there you are on the sidelines there. In the very brief career that you had, were you pleased with, when you were healthy, how you played?
Toward the end of my first year, as I started to catch on to the system, and it's such a different system than you know, going from college to the pros, because the amount of things that you have to learn.
Now here's the famous play with Bo. It's not that big a deal. I mean, Jim Brown has carried people into the end zone, but they had you being
If that was on the 50-yard line, it'd be 2nd and 8. It's on the goal line, and it's a touchdown.
Now people have made this out to be like you were
I
exploded
haven't
into the end
yet.
zone.
I haven't landed. I'm still on my back somewhere in orbit somewhere. Bo is a great athlete. I mean, I've always said that I've been mesmerized by what Bo's been able to do, but this play, for some reason, just gets more play than, I mean, it's going to go down in history. It'll be the only play football, if it gets into one of those satellites and sent out to orbit for another world to see what we do here on this planet. That's the place.
You'll put it in a time capsule, that's right. By the way, you have said for the record, one of your great regrets is that you didn't get out of football sooner. You didn't want to play hurt with the kind of pain that you endured. What advice would you give to Bo Jackson now?
Well, if I knew the extent of his injury, if it was anything like what I have, I would, I would go back and, as a matter of fact, I talked to Chris Spillman last year, who had a problem during the middle of the year, to evaluate not only his career, but evaluate his life. I think when you're a player, you start to lose sight of life after football, life after your sport, and the price that you pay. And I pay a price every day, and I will pay a price till the day I die for what I've done. But I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't go back and change a thing.
As Brian Bosworth, how would you then talk about John Elway? Because once upon a time, you said of John Elway, he manipulated the NFL like I could, so he could play where he wanted. Some people think of him as Mr. Glee Club. I think of him as Mr. Ed. Now, does Brian Bosworth, is that different now that you're Brian Bosworth?
See, I'm just having fun. Again, when we played Denver, it was our first game of my rookie year, and they built this thing up to be the most sensationalized game, $11 million guy against, I think he signed a $13 million deal or whatever. And I was just trying to make some excitement for the fans and everybody else involved. But I just enjoyed playing with John because John was such a great guy to play against because he just got so frustrated. I could see in his eyes he just wanted to come across the line and strangle me. And it was just a lot of fun to play with.
Brian Bosworth, our guest, from Wrap It Up, and final thoughts after this.
I mean, that was pretty evident, throughout his college career. I mean, you can tell by looking at somebody. It definitely enhanced his ability to play football. And I guess as we had, drug testing in the NFL, you could definitely tell the fall off with him. And I think his body, after a while, just more or less deconstructed because of the fact that, he was using anabolic steroids.
Tony Casillas talking about Brian Bosworth having used steroids. He's acknowledged having a doctor's prescription for steroids. In our final minute, though, what would you say to kids who think that the way to become the Boz or become the player the Boz was is to use steroids? What would you say to them?
Just go back to that same statement I said earlier about the player doesn't come from what you put in your body. The player's already in your body. It's your heart and how the size of your heart and how much devotion you put to that sport. I played the game for 20 years. I played it not during the season, but I played it during the off season. Nobody lifted weights any harder than I did. Nobody ran as much as I did. Nobody lived the game both night and day like I did. Nobody did, and nobody could ever tell me that they did. But if you're going to try to go to another avenue, where's the finish line? What's the point in doing all that? Look at the upside, look at the downside. It's really scary nowadays. I go into the gym now, especially down the goals, and I see all these guys. They're fixing to explode. Their veins are like, they look like tubes. And what's the point? I don't understand it. It's a scary situation, and I really don't have an answer for you because there is not one guy who can stand up and say, okay, here's the answer, and this is going to solve the entire problem.
Well, we can start with the old expression, to say no. Say no to steroids, too.
Just say no.
Yeah.
Be smart.
Yeah. We're out of time. Brian Bosworth, we want to wish you the best of luck with this new film. So far, you don't look like you're going to need it. It looks like it's doing just very, very well.
Thanks, Ron.
Stone Cold is the name of the film. You can check it out. It's at your local theaters, as they say. We'll come back, wrap things up close after this.